Hey, Flow City, this is Garrett, and I'm so excited to have you here. I am feeling extremely grateful in this moment to be able to flow with you and teach you about the flow cycle. To start off, I want to dive into gratitude and ask you a question. This is a self-reflective question. Do I know what gratitude is? Have I felt gratitude in my life before? And what did it feel like? Can I remember a moment in my life that felt like pure gratitude? Now, if you can focus on that, we can actually use that gratitude as energy to get into a flow state. We can actually use it to conquer our fears and move past anxiety into gratitude, into flow. Gratitude is probably the most powerful flow trigger. And today I want to dive into the topic of the flow cycle with you. One of the things that I say over and over for Flow City, our motto is come flow with us. And the way that you can come flow with us is by understanding first how to get into flow. By understanding the flow cycle, you can leverage your mindset, your ability to be productive, to spend more time with your family, to use your circadian rhythms. The circadian rhythm is knowing when you're sleepy and exhausted and when you're feeling on a high and you're caffeinated, like ready to go self. That's riding the waves of the flow cycle. So you wouldn't want to flow when you feel like taking a nap. You wouldn't want to flow if you're running on 3 hours of sleep. That is an opportunity for release and recovery. So I'm going to tell you the flow cycle is similar to a racetrack. So if you think of the flow cycle as a racetrack, you have a start point and an end point, and you have 3 checkpoints in between. The starting point is checkpoint 1. Then you have checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3, checkpoint 4. Checkpoint 4 is the final checkpoint, but where you finish the race is where you begin the race. So the first part of this flow track, checkpoint 1, is struggle. That's the very start. You have to struggle. It's the beginning of the race. You start out. You're not flowing yet. It's not a fun experience. There's other racers around you. This is when you have to push through. You have to get around the racers. This is grit. It's not fun. You can think of the first time you've done something as a struggle phase. It's learning something new. It's getting 4% outside your comfort zone. If you struggle too much and too long, then you have to come back. This can be a period of minutes. It can be a period of hours, weeks, months, or years. Checkpoint 2 now is moving out of the struggle into release. The release checkpoint is when you do something you love. So if you're on the racetrack, this is when you're not trying to get around the other drivers. This is when you are doing something you love. Anything that moves you out of that struggle phase of the beginning of the race and into, I am going to release from the struggle. I'm just going to be where I am and enjoy this. I'm not even going to think about the start of the race, even if it was a terrible start. I'm just going to focus on now and release. Now, this could be working out. This could be yoga. This could be doing a float tank, getting a massage, hanging out with friends. This could be 5 minutes. You could release for 5 minutes. Go take a walk. Go take a run. Go be in nature. That's a massive release for me. After this checkpoint, you go into checkpoint 3 where flow happens. If you think of Kobe Bryant scoring 60 points, that's a flow experience. If you think of Tiger Woods and how he was able to master the Masters, he was in flow. Each time that he would win the Masters, he would have this flow experience. Michael Phelps in the Olympics, this is when flow happens. For me, flow is drawing and creating. And for you, it's typically the thing that you were really good at between the ages of 9 and 12 that you probably don't do nearly often enough, but you're very good at because you love it. And if you did it more, you would be a happier individual. And now checkpoint 4 is after flow. You have to recover. You have to get out of that state where you were super productive, where everything just happened for you. And now you have to sleep. You can also do a float tank at this point. You can do a massage at this point as well. This is when you want to move into yoga nidra, which I've talked about on the podcast before, which is the ultimate recovery for me and allows me to flow twice a day. So this checkpoint, number 4, leads us back to the starting point. Struggle and then release and then flow, and then recover. This is the racetrack. I'm going to take you through the racetrack again, but I'm going to talk it in a slightly more scientific language. The whole goal is, as a race car driver, you're on the racetrack. You're trying to move around these cars. You're in this beta brainwave. This is when cortisol and norepinephrine are very high. So beta is like when you're talking, when you're watching TV, daily interactions. This is not the same as when you're laying in bed and you're in that weird dream state. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about you napping. Struggle is like you're in the go mode and you're doing stuff. And typically we experience a lot of frustration in this first part of the flow cycle. When you just can't take it anymore, that's when you move into release. The only way to get into release is to completely stop thinking about what you were struggling with and move away. The release is when you go into what's called alpha brainwaves. You're doing something you really enjoy. You're getting away from the struggle completely. And you're going to typically turn off that part of your brain that's struggling. Maybe it's a hot shower, maybe it's a bath, maybe it's meditation, something that you really enjoy. For me, I really like to move big, heavy objects in my backyard and be in nature and just throw things. And I do that until my brain stops thinking. And then I'm like, all right, I'm ready to flow. And then I immediately go and I start drawing. And with a clear goal, I start doing that activity. So that's moving into this next checkpoint, which is in the gamma theta brainwave. Okay. This is flow. So your flow triggers like gratitude, as we mentioned at the start, maybe riding a motorcycle, looking out at a big vista, at a landscape, depending on where you live. VR could actually trigger flow. It triggers a lot of flow, actually. Sitting on the edge of your comfort zone, risk, complexity, a lot of these different things can trigger flow. Focusing on fear gives you focus. So you sit back down, you're ready to draw, or you're ready to write the song, you're ready to create something. Maybe you're a social media manager and you want to get everything done in 2 hours as opposed to spending 8 hours doing everything. So you condense 8 hours of work into 2 hours. Now, I want you to do this with me. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about what you're touching, where your feet are touching your toes. I want you to focus on where your hands are. I want you to focus on what you're sitting on or laying on, or maybe you're standing, maybe you're driving, maybe your hands are on the steering wheel, maybe you're on your couch and you feel comfy. Maybe you feel very uncomfortable. Whatever it is, focus on that feeling. Focus on that sense of touch. Now move on to what you can smell. Smell the air. Maybe you can't smell anything. Notice it. Realize what you're smelling. Maybe it's a scent in the air. Maybe it's a good smell. Maybe it's a bad smell. Maybe you like it. Maybe you don't. Now open your eyes and look around you. What do you see? Now focus on one spot and notice how everything around you is blurry on the outside except for that one thing that you're looking at, and just focus on this moment and be grateful for your eyes. Now move on to what you can taste. Maybe you're chewing gum. Maybe you're not chewing anything, but focus on the sense of taste in your mouth. And now the final sense that I want you to focus on is sound. The sound of my voice, the sound of music in the background, cars moving by, whatever it is in your environment, focus on that. And as soon as you are dialed in to that state, you can move on into flow. Right now, when you feel gratitude for someone or something and you don't express it, it's like wrapping a present for them and not giving it to them. So express your gratitude through creation. This is what flow is about. Flow is about creating in a grateful state, in the thing that the universe has given to you. It wants you to create. You are here to create. Get past the struggle. Move through the release. And that's when you begin to slow down time. It disappears. You don't know what time it is and you don't care. And you've set up your environment in a way that there are no distractions. 4 hours might have passed and it felt like 10 minutes. That's flow. On the racetrack, you are passing every single car. You don't know how you're doing it. You don't care, but you've been practicing this thing so often and your stress level is low because you've released. So this motivation, when you are fully dialed in, it's the merging of action and awareness. You become one with the present moment, with whatever it is that you're doing, and you love it so much. You're passionate so much about that thing that it's just this beautiful happening. And you can begin to look outside of yourself. I'll be drawing or creating something, and I'm a witness to myself drawing. I will literally, I kid you not, watch myself draw. This can happen to you when you're singing, when you're rapping, when you're swimming, when you're doing something downhilling, skiing, whatever it is that you're really good at, you're in this altered state of consciousness. You might not even know that you're in it until after, and that's the best time to pull out. So now you've recognized that you're in flow, you're on the racetrack, you're approaching the last checkpoint, which is recovery. This is when you think of the delta brainwave of sleep. This is massive recovery, float tanks, sensory deprivation. You're removing stimulation. I put on a woman's voice who soothes me to a hypnotic state where I'm not sleeping, but I'm not awake. And when I wake up from it, I'm just in this amazing state of mind. So it feels like sleep. It feels like I slept for 4 hours, but I just laid down for 45 minutes. Essentially, I believe that if we recover, we can move back into that struggle phase. If we don't recover from flow, you can go into a depressed state or apathy. Even worse is boredom. With Flow City, we want to take you through this racetrack with someone else, not alone. That's the key. It's Ready Player 1+1. And the ultimate experience is group flow. And we want to take all the race cars on the track and do it together. We want everybody to pass the finish line. And I want to take you on this journey. I believe this is the future. This is neuroscience meets gaming meets wellness. And we're bringing relationships and AI and blockchain into this. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your time and attention. And I'm sending positive vibes your way.